So, hello everybody, and welcome to a new edition of the food4Rhino webinar series. Thanks for being here. Today, we are not presenting a new plugin for Rhino Grasshopper, but we will present a new book. This is the Essential Guide to Digital Jewelry Design, and we have the authors of this book with us. This is a new book that recreates how to create your jewelry designs with Rhino and Grasshopper. Plus, there is another website where you can not only buy the book, you can also buy the models and all the exercises. Let me briefly share my screen to show you, and then I will introduce you to the authors. I think it's here. Now you should see my screen, and this is the events page on food4Rhino, where you can see what is this book about. It helps you understand how to recreate all your jewelry designs, but again, not only using Rhino modeling tools, but also Grasshopper as the algorithmic editor. And the authors are Akiyo Matsuoka, who is a jewelry designer. She studied and she's faculty at Fashion Institute of Technology in New York, but now she's in Tokyo, in Japan. She has lots of experience in different brands, different companies, as you can read here. And Eva Tucek, a very good friend from me, based now in Paris, but before in Vienna and in South Africa. She's also a jewelry designer, although in the last times she also specialized in architecture and in Grasshopper. And well, she has done also many workshops on jewelry, and she had also her own practice. And we also have Atsuo Nakajima with us. Atsuo is the responsible of McNeel in Japan, and he has also written different books for modeling, not only product design, also automotive, also architecture. And yeah, well, we know Atsuo since many years ago because, as mentioned, he's the responsible of Rhino in Japan. Remember that this webinar is being recorded. That means that you will be able to watch it on this link, on this same YouTube link, right after it finishes. There is also a chat there. Feel free to post your questions or comments there, because at the end of the presentation, I will collect all your questions and feedback, and then there will be an open dialogue with Akiyo, Eva, and Atsuo. Let me also show you the food4Rhino page about the book. And here there is a link to the Amazon page where you can buy the book, plus a link to the website where you can acquire the 3D models, so that you can follow the book with the 3D models and do all the exercises. Okay, I'm going to stop now sharing my screen. Akiyo, Atsuo, Eva, many thanks for being here. I wish you the best with this new book. I know you have employed many hours writing it, and you have such a nice experience in the field that I'm sure it will be a very successful book. So now I think Atsuo will start with presentation, right?
Okay, let me share. Now you can take a look.
Yes.
Okay, so hello everyone. My name is Atsuo Nakajima. I'm a person who introduced Rhino in Japan in 1998. Time flies, as it has been 20 years, 3 years almost. Okay, and first of all, thank you for joining this webinar. Thank you, Carlos, giving us an opportunity. Thank you very much. So, brief introduction. Who am I? So, I'm a 3D digital modeling expert. I am member of JSSD, Japanese Society for Science of Design. and a member of AIJ, Architectural Institute of Japan, lecturer of MAU Musashino Art University. I established my company in 1997 and start Rhino business 1998, and start design and modeling consultation from 2007. Okay, so my major interest was freeform digital modeling. So Rhino is excellent digital modeling tools which utilize nerves. The first time I encountered with nerves is about almost 30 years ago, 1990. So I was really charmed with technology of nerves. And sorry, the first time, okay. As you know, many digital modeling tools uses nerves expression, but most of them encapsulate this core technology, then used for specific purpose. For example, for just automotive shaping, for manufacturing, for product design, for architecture design, house appliances design, and so on. However, Rhino has no limit to access to nodes. That's why Rhino is available in any field which requires freeform shape. Regarding Rhino business, I have been participating in sales at the first decade. After that, I'm mainly working with a consultant. Okay, let's please take a quick look on my personal work from 2007. It's like a game controller. It has complete three-dimensional freeform shape. This is some product design. At this age, product has no or less touch panels. Cell phone keyboard is very old-fashioned. If I take a look now, this is a pottery design for Japanese sake. It is not symmetric. I inspired this shape from automotive shaping. Then freeform curve is 5-degree curves. So 2010, 3D printer became popular, and also Grasshopper came around this year. And this is architectural design CG works for 2010 to 2013. So the studium at the left row has also inside structure with Grasshopper. After 8 years pass, in the spring, this model is used for Rhino Rabbit 2022 connection at Outest Beam channel in Japan. It's like read into Rabbit and add beam object and back to Rhino again, like that. It's using technology of a Rhino inside. And this one is quite different. This is a 2013 Maison et Objet in Paris. It's a pottery design. I was asked by pottery manufacturer, then designed and modeled for that. Actually, I'm not a designer, but in 2014, I tried design competition. I submitted mobile whiskey bottle with family crest, and thus it's selected. 2015 at Milano Salone, exhibit lampshade with 3D printer to show computational modeling method. Maybe you can, how difficult to create without 3D print like this. And these are CZ for pottery design. This is my personal work. Also, I have been engaged in collaborative works with universities, professional designers, and engineers. For example, this is a tableware development with Wakayama University in 2009. Since ceramic shrink 12 to 13% when it baked, and reduced portion is not constant, so we need to predict those factors, then design and model. This is a modeling freeform loop for yacht harbor. Now, this is required modeling expertise, but not interested in form itself. There was already fixed structure, but had to create freeform shape around that. No builder could do that, so then I was asked, and finally I did it with using Rhino. Also, I'm very honored to have an opportunity to work designer with outstanding talent. One designer is Shinichi Sumikawa. He is excellent product designer in Japan, and he is also Rhino user for a long time. I helped algorithm design part of PAN with IoT, Internet of Things, and also residence in future. The design, algorithmic design with Windows portion. We did a lot of trial error. One other designer is Kanai Tsukamoto. She's also very famous product designer in Japan. This is named Drape, designed by Kanai Tsukamoto. I related this work with concept design to finalizing model for lampshade, named Drape. So we did at first stage, we tried various algorithm, various shape, and finally we came to that kind of shape. With Hiroshima University, they are researching sense of touch, may say tactile, as very sensitive burn, roughness of surface may have high value. They are researching like this. Then for them, we have developed 10 examples with Grasshopper. You can download it. They seem to be used to research for surface design or CMF design, color manufacturing finishing design. Okay, so books and information repository. There are many tutorial movie and example all over the world. No wonder they are so useful. They're dynamic, but may say sometimes fragmentary or volatile. I have been related with Rhino from the very beginning, and my major interest is supplying static and consecutive information and expertise to users. That's why I keep writing books and publishing them. I wrote more than 8 books in the past, of course in Japanese, I'm sorry, and I'm doing to another 2 books in this year. For the same reason, I started Grasshopper Component Index from 3 years ago. We are supplying how to make algorithms with major components like a dictionary. Probably almost 300 components, major components described already. Sorry, it's only Japanese, but you could take a look through Google Translation. So we have many access. For example, math and set. Each month we have access more than 5,000 and it's growing. So it might contribute to Grasshopper customers. Okay, so why decide to write a book for jewelry design? I have touched with various fields, but not jewelry design. So I felt necessity some activity for jewelry design. So this is the book. I knew Akiyo, who is a very successful jewelry designer in New York City. Since I have no jewelry design expertise, then I held special jewelry design training with Akiyo about several years ago in Japan. And in 2017, I met Eva in Berlin at Rhino user meeting, and I really impressed with her works. Then I knew different tastes of works comparing with Akiyo. They have different style and really impressed with both talented jewelry designers. Then I came to ask them to design and model. I received 6 each jewelry design and model. They were so excellent. So it's beyond my expectation. So I suddenly flashed, okay, why don't we write a book by three of us? So in this book, I was in charge to describe about basic nervous knowledge and introduction of Grasshopper. There are some important concepts for free-form modeling, but I would list up control point, degree, knot, curvature, P parameter for curve, U and V parameters for surface. Those are very uh, important concepts. I engineered to write them like that. Those concepts can be learned through basic jewelry modeling. I hope and I think understanding those knowledge help you to create design shape with high quality and also reasonable. So this is ring design based on basic nerves knowledge. And the basic concept Grasshopper is followed nerves. I hope reader may have interest in jewelry design with using Grasshopper. Grasshopper is known as GAE, Graphical Algorithm Editor, or PPL in general, Visual Programming Language. It seemed to be difficult for designer at first, but it would be great help after you understand basic issue. I would list up some term, data tree structure manipulation, reparameterize, finding position by T, N, U, V, W parameter, orient object, basic math. I'm focusing mainly focusing this kind of concept. The book shows that, and this is the result of rendering. For more advanced users, if you are going to array stones on the real free-form shape, you feel it's rather difficult. But in this case, with using simple math algorithm, it may help you. In this chapter, I mentioned how to array stones close ideally on a real freeform surface with evaluated distortion. If we will put all stones with unique size, all different size, yes, it is ideal for design, but it's not realistic. Then I report how to round the scale of stones, for example, 0.05 pitch with using simple math. So you will run the pragmatic modeling with using Grasshopper. So that's the result. So after that, you will run 12 professional jewelry design. In each chapter, I explained Grasshopper for design, and I explained little advanced usage of Grasshopper for more productive jewelry design and modeling. Oh, it is my great pleasure if you are interested in jewelry design based on nodes and Grasshopper algorithm. Also, you will find some new approach. If you are a designer, you don't need to be the specialist of algorithm. But if you realize those kind of concepts and knowledge, you can ask and discuss with developer in same basis. I think Grasshopper is very strong too. This book should have done 1 year ago. It was before Rhino 7, but Rhino 7 released end of 2020. Then we add some sub-D and the quad mesh layer. Sub-D and quad mesh is kind of a new tools for design and modeling. We just leave out the basic issue. Unfortunately, we don't have time to cover all sub-D and quad mesh. But no wonder those expertise is very powerful. And you can take a look work by Akiyo and Ever. That's all from me. Of my part might not be boring, but you can probably, or you do, enjoy designer's presentation of me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Atsuo. Thanks for your nice presentation and the basics of NURBS modeling, but now also with Rhino 7, the addition of sub-D modeling, which is another
Yes.
another way to model in Rhino, much more organic, but as powerful as modeling with NURBS, because at the end you can always transfer your sub-D objects to NURBS objects, right? So
yes,
anything you do with sub-D, it's also manufacturable. Great. And yeah, your part probably is the most technical one of the book, right?
Yes, I'm taking a technical part.
As I mentioned in the presentation, you have also written books about using Rhino for modeling in automotive design, which is probably the most demanding industry in terms of quality of the surfaces, right?
Yeah.
And this is, but in general, it's very important to anything you do in Rhino, start modeling with very clean curves, with as few control points as possible, best curvature, etc., so that once the model is growing, it doesn't add any extra complexity that we don't need. So thank you. Who's next?
Yes, it's me.
Now Akiyo will continue with the presentation of her contribution to the book.
Okay. You see this my screen?
Yes, perfect.
Okay, thank you. Hi everyone, my name is Akiyo Matsuoka and I'm a New York-based jewelry designer and Rhino trainer. And thank you everybody for coming to this webinar today. And thank you, Carlos, for this opportunity. So before I start my part of the presentation of the book, let me introduce you a little bit about myself. I was born and raised in Tokyo, Japan. And at the age of 27, I moved to New York City and attended the Parsons School of Design in FIT in New York City. After I graduated Parsons, I started my jewelry design career in 1993 with an assignment to develop jewelry design for Escada 1994 spring, summer, and the fall winter jewelry collection. I was selected as a Diamond International Award finalist in 1994, and I graduated with honors from Parsons School of Design in New York City. When I started my jewelry collection in 1997, Akiyo Matsuoka Jewelry, there were no simple, delicate jewelry in the market. Everything was so bold and big, very American, I think. I couldn't find anything I would like to wear. So I started my own. I started to design my jewelry and I started my collection. It was so hard to be recognized first since my jewelry was so different. But soon Neiman Marcus started to carry my collection and eventually it opened up to 14 doors and also Nordstrom and specialty stores throughout the US and worldwide. So micro pavé is so popular now, but I remember when I first started, it was so hard to find small diamonds with a better quality. And people think I'm crazy to use diamond under 1-pointers at the time. This is the Sarah Jessica Parker wearing my necklace in a Sex and City at the scene with Mikhail Borisenkov. The essence of my jewelry design ideas come from the union of nature, music, and sculpture. I play the piano since I was small, and my music background reflects my organic rhythmic design. And Japanese heritage is also influenced on my design's minimalist simplicity, clean lines, and understated femininity. I discovered Rhino around 2009 and found a huge potential in Rhino for design and production. I liked the fact that I didn't have to rely too much on the model makers, and I could design everything on my computer. From the beginning, I started using Rhino. I found it was so fascinating, and I fell in love with the program, and I wanted to dive in more and more. Also, the people in McNeel are so wonderful and supportive, and I cannot be where I am without the help, without their help. It is such a great community. I started to teach Rhino at FIT, Fashion Institute of Technology in New York City, which has the best jewelry program in the world. I also teach to the accessory students, and here are some of the student work from accessory design student. This is a high heel, so there is an upper and the heels, how to create the heels, and also to put some decorations on the surface, on the upper and the heels. And this is a crutch bag with a zipper pull. Yeah, so here's some detail about this bag, and the student designed their own zipper pulls. And this is a sandal, and recently incorporated Grasshopper to design their outsole design to create the patterns. I'm an authorized Rhino reseller and trainer. I teach Rhino regularly online, which you can find in my website. And also I give training to design companies. There are jewelry companies like Harry Winston and Tiffany, but also different types of design companies like Macy's Entertainment, which creates floats and balloons for Thanksgiving parade, Ralph Lauren, West Elm, Loketo, and Martin, or various architecture companies. I also designed 3D printed jewelry brand Leona New York, which I'm wearing today, and sell online. I first started creating these accessories to just college students. However, I launched to sell online because whenever or wherever I go, I wear these accessories. Everyone stopped me at the subway station, the restaurant, supermarket, benefit parties, on the street. So it was so different. So they stopped me and asked me what it is. So what is that jewelry? So what are you wearing? And where to buy? Because such a eye-catching and so different. So everything is so lightweight and a statement wearing wearable art. So these are the business card holder. Patterns are on the top are created in Grasshopper. So they have hinges, and it prints on one piece. So it's with the hinges. So it's printed on one piece. So I am so happy to finally release this book. So not only Rhino, I wanted to let many people know about Grasshopper, which is a wonderful parametric tool. You can create automated tools like Rhino Gold or Matrix, which you may heard about. If you learn Grasshopper, you will soon find it is so much fun, and you will have a mesmerizing experience, in my opinion. In this book, I am showing 7 different models with tutorials in Rhino and Grasshopper. So this first simple exercise using a sweep to rail command. So it shows you how to create the wavy shape by rebuild curve and scale 2D. Then the grouped stone and cutter are placed at a certain point with the orient surface. So this is a curve pattern. In this exercise, we will use a Rhino geometry, and the Grasshopper reads that information to start the definition. So sometimes we can start Grasshopper with the Rhino geometry, and you don't have to create everything in Grasshopper. This exercise is pretty easy to understand for Grasshopper beginners. So we drew curves in Rhino, and you can learn data tree structure here on the left, on the bottom, graph and flatten, and curve pattern component on the right on the bottom to have the patterns, true and false, repetitive patterns. So this bypass ring exercise is a Rhino-only exercise. It shows you how to create a graceful organic ring shape and micropave setting. So this chapter showed you a curve two views, blend curve to create rails to maintain curve's continuity. Then merge three surfaces to maintain to create a one surface. The essence of this exercise is about graceful to create a graceful curve with continuity, and array cutter for micropave seamlessly. So this is a Voronoi ring. So this Grasshopper exercise, it will first show you how to create the automated ring size by the country. So you see the value list here, and with a stream filter, you can create the automated ring size, and also the stream filter on the bottom has using points created by the Grasshopper, populate 2D, or you can manually place the points by yourself, and Grasshopper reads it. So with those points, it makes Voronoi. So also here, another value list and stream filter, which serves like a switch. So this case, this button on the left using the polyline, and the one on the right is a control point. So the value list in the stream filter will serve like a switch. So by the way, so you will say, oh, okay, Voronoi, right? So you will see so many Voronoi models created in Grasshopper. Our Voronoi patterns definition is very, very special. So this is a secret in this cluster. So Voronoi patterns produce very short edges at the corners occasionally, and they influence the algorithm. But this cluster inside, you will see definitions to delete the short edges and helps to create a beautiful Voronoi patterns. This is eternity ring. The goal of this chapter is to create an automated eternity ring tool, which is the component, which you will see on the bottom. So this is called cluster. So this serves like automated tools. So Grasshopper definition can be very long and complicated. So you can put it in the box like this, like a storage box. It's called cluster. So on the left, you connect to the value list for the ring size and also number sliders. So by changing the variables, so you can create a lot of things can be adjusted, which is here the carat of the ring size, of course, and the carat weight of the stone, and number of stone, and size of the cutter, and setting size, which is a bezel width on the height. Also, you can do fillet edges in this over here at the bezel set. So it's like a fillet edges, like if you do in a Rhino. So here it will show you how to identify the particular index for the edge and which edge to be filleted. Okay, so diamond setting. So this is very straightforward Grasshopper exercise. So on the top left is a value list with the ring. You can change the size of the stone. And the one on the middle is you make a basket with a sweep one rail. So all the rectangles and circle are adjustable. And the one on the right is the prongs, that extrusion is per frame to set the plane to parameterize curve, and you use the amplitude to set a specific direction for the extrusion. And bottom right is a cluster, which is created eventually. Okay, the signet ring. So lastly, I wanted to introduce these exciting definitions of signet ring. As you know, historically, signet ring played a very important role. For many years, men of influence have been wearing the ring for identification and communication, known as a signet ring. It's often engraved and has a raised symbol or word or letters or image or family crest. Now, signet ring is not only for men's ring, but also it is very popular style for men and women. So modeling a signet ring in Rhino can be challenging. It needs many steps, and in order to make a smooth shape of the shank, needs some modification. So this custom-made signet ring component, you will be able to adjust not only the width or height of each part of the ring, it is also determined, so you can change the shape of the top, which is you can do round or oval. You can switch by the value list. Also the size of the oval, elongated on the X direction or Y direction. Also, you can do with or without the stone, and with or without the harrowing inside the ring. So that's all automated. Okay, so this concludes my part of the presentation, and I believe you felt my passion and enthusiasm toward the Rhino and the Grasshopper for the jewelry design. I thank both Eva and Atsuo. I'm so lucky to be able to acquainted to be so talented, wonderful individual, and I couldn't do without this project without them. Also, big thank you to McNeel for this opportunity. So before I close, here is some information about my upcoming classes. So I'm offering a Rhino and Grasshopper class online. So if you're new to the Grasshopper, next Intro to Grasshopper class, which include the exercises on this book, will start in July 27. And it shows you the foundation of the Grasshopper and the data management with fun exercises. Also, the intermediate class is actually coming before from the next week. Also, some Rhino jewelry modeling and keyshot rendering classes starting end of the next month. All right. Thank you so much for listening. That concludes my part.
Excellent, Akiyo. I love your presentation. I like it very much how you started. So when you moved to New York, started studying at the Fashion Institute of Technology, then when you started working for different brands, you created your own brand because you didn't like much the American style of jewelry at that time, right?
Exactly.
And then you became successful also with the help of some star systems, right? Stars. And then the transition also to, well, I like that you show also fashion accessories, not only poor jewelry, but also the world of fashion accessories and footwear design, and your 3D printed jewelry, which I guess, do you have your own 3D printer at your studio, or are you using any,
Oh, no, I don't.
external services?
I send out to Shapeways.
Shapeways, okay, great.
Shapeways.com.
And your shop is integrated in Shapeways, or?
Yes, it is integrated. So once the customer put in a card, so it will jump to the Shapeways, and Shapeways will send it to and deliver to the customers.
Nice.
Worldwide, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a very nice service, and also very inexpensive, at least what they charge for the printing. Which materials do you print normally? That the bracelets you show and collars.
It's a plastic, but it's for by the laser sintering. It's a nylon powder.
Nylon.
It's like a very flexible the plastic. It's very, very lightweight. So people wear this and then amazed because this is so it's almost nothing. It's a lightweight.
It looks very nice. And people stop you in the supermarket, in the metro, right? And
yeah, benefit party, yeah.
Right.
Yes.
And then I guess that once you learn Grasshopper, it was another revolution, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I love it. Mm-hmm.
Perfect. Really, really nice. And well, thank you for being here, having written the book. And I guess that now many people will want to learn your techniques and will join your online workshops as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, and now I think Eva Tucek will continue with the presentation, right?
Yes, I will do the last presentation. And let me see here. Let me share my screen. Have you got it?
Yep. Yes, perfect.
Okay. I'd also like to thank everybody for joining us today. Like Atsuo and Akiyo, I'm going to present a little bit about myself and my background. I'm a designer and a teacher, and now more recently with Akiyo and Atsuo, a co-author. I was born in South Africa. Our parents moved there from Austria in the 70s, and they worked hard before opening a jewelry shop. In the 80s, there's some old photos of the arcade that they had their very first little shop in, naming it Vienna Jewelers, quite aptly, having come from Vienna. As is with normal family businesses, or most family businesses, you very, very often learn by osmosis because you spend so much time with your parents and you're so involved. They worked very hard. They spent a lot of time in the shop. And this is a photo of our mom, a real 80s pic for an advert for a newspaper. And they did just about all the jobs that came their way until they finally started concentrating a bit on haute jewelry and some fine jewelry. So there you see my mom at the bench. They were so successful in South Africa that they became the sole agents for Fabergé in Southern Africa, with finally having the honor of having designed and presented President Nelson Mandela with his very own Madiba egg. I have to say I'm very proud of my family. And if it weren't for them, I wouldn't have done what I just did with Akiyo and Atsuo, which is spend the last year and a half putting a book together. So thanks to them as well. I took a different route though. I decided to study graphic design and branding. And this was also my first kind of foray into the world of 3D. In the early 2000s, I moved to Cape Town, which is very much a hub of creativity in Southern Africa. And it's where all the animation studios are concentrated. And I got some very valuable advice once from someone who had started their own animation studio. He told me that it's very important to focus on one aspect when you go into 3D. Find a niche that you feel comfortable with, that you want to specialize in. And that stuck with me until a few years later, I again moved. This time I moved to Austria. And that was when I found my niche, because it turned out that both my brother, his wife, and the rest of our family moved to Vienna, back to Vienna. And we together started a family business. It was the first CAD and rapid prototyping service for jewelers and gold and silversmiths and designers in Austria. It was a service for the Austrian public. They had still not come across 3D printing on a very commercial basis. And we were met with a lot of curiosity, and it was a challenging time. It was an opportunity to finally immerse myself completely in 3D. And Rhino really made it easy. We were challenged every day, every week by new crazy projects that people wanted to try. They were living out their fantasies through us being able to 3D print and produce just about anything that they wanted to. And sometimes we were really pushed to the boundaries of what the 3D printers could do. Sometimes even the most extreme ideas, like a gold pacifier, fully encrusted with diamonds, or even superfine parts for very expensive mini train collections. This is where I got to know the people at McNeel for the first time, and they were there to support us throughout. They really helped us grow. And this is where I first met Carlos as well. I like to think of McNeel like the Rolling Stones of 3D software. They're familiar, everlasting, easygoing, but still damn powerful. In some more pieces, this is also where I started experimenting with rendering. So here you have a few renders. We worked together for quite a number of years. And then in 2012, I decided to break away from the family business and started teaching. I taught a lot of architecture students in the beginning, more than anything else. And through that, also learned more and more about Grasshopper. I did a few Grasshopper workshops at that time, and that's where I first met Michael Pryor as well, the creator of Pufferfish. Parallel to this, he will become important later in the lecture, but parallel to this, I started a label of my own called Electrodon, where I just took the opportunity to still create my own pieces and do some exhibitions. And I still do it now. It's more for practice than anything else. And it was at one of the exhibitions that I did that I got into contact with Michael again. And he contacted me and asked if we could maybe set up some classes for Grasshopper, some workshops called Algorithmic Accessories through his workshop studio called Design Morphine. So they were more focused on architecture, and I think they wanted to offer something where participants could manifest creations in real life, something on a small scale that could be 3D printed easily, and jewelry made sense. Here's just a spreadsheet of what one of the students did. It was an opportunity for me to test the output of Grasshopper as well on a more physical level. Sometimes the results tend to be very unattainable in terms of 3D printing because the structures are so complex. But we made it possible. We 3D printed a lot of very interesting and a lot of very complicated structures in the end of the workshop. And it was an interesting learning experience. The ring on the right actually belongs to a designer who works for a very well-known jeweler in Austria, in Vienna. And they finally entered the design in the Red Dot Design Awards. I think it won something. So yeah, it's getting its own ground in the real world now of jewelry. So since then, I've moved to Paris, where my husband Eric, our son Akira, and our beagle keep me busy most of the time. I mostly work on architectural projects, and I do my own designs. I also work for other designers as a CAD specialist, doing some visualization, some consultant work, and I teach, do some training. Like Akiyo, I'm an authorized Rhino trainer. And in around about 2017 in Berlin, by the way, that tree actually fell right outside where we were. It was Cyclone Xavier the same weekend. And this is where I met Atsuo. So we kept in contact. He was very fascinated by the jewelry designs and the application of Rhino in the jewelry design field. And he wanted to use some of the models for tutorials for the Japanese students. I think he felt there was a need for more awareness in Japanese of digital jewelry design. And it was through Atsuo that I also met and started communicating with Akiyo. So we hit it off quite well, the three of us. And it was at this point when the lockdown hit that we decided we were going to do something. And Atsuo brought the idea of a book to the table. So we started discussing what to do next. In the beginning, it was our biggest issue was the time zone difference, being that Atsuo is in Tokyo, I'm in Paris, and Akiyo is in New York. So we found a common ground. It worked out. And we started to create an outline for the idea for the book's contents. We started compiling information. And as you now know, the idea was to take 6 designs from both Akiyo and I, and we grade them on 3 difficulty levels: beginners, intermediate, and advanced, and then write in-depth exercises for each. We got about discussing what were the most important aspects that we wanted to bring across in the tutorials. For each of us, it was something different based on our experience. For me personally, there's certain aspects of jewelry design that are very important to think about when you work in CAD jewelry, like working in symmetry, paying attention to where and how you create your design in the 3D space that you have, designing with intent so that you look at what you want at the end before you start modeling. It's very important to have your sketches and your ideas ready. The problem with data modeling is that you can get very caught up in the operations and the incidentality of the results of your definitions, that you stop thinking about real aspects that would make it manufacturable. This is where I think the 3 of us made a very good mix because of our different experience in design and because of the things that we felt each personally were important to take into account. So from my part, the six designs, my first design was a very, very simple exercise. It's using the most basic commands in Rhino. And when you're working, you always try to find the quickest and most efficient way and to get your result. And it's very funny, but when you think about it a little bit, you really do always find a quicker way to do something. Some of the commands I used were just draw curves, sweep rail, project curves, your extract surfaces and booleans, which are very commonplace tools to use when you're starting out in modeling, when you're modeling something. I think it's a very well-rounded and simple palette of tools, and it's a very simple model to start modeling. The second model was something a bit more more geometric. It works on fundamentally the same commands. There's only a bit of a difference, namely, I threw in the deformation tool at the end. I love using the deformation tools because they can always bring a very nice final touch that's a bit more organic to pieces that are very rigid. And I know that a lot of people feel it's cheating to use the cage tool, but I see it more as enhancing. Should give it a shot. The bow ring, which is now one of the intermediate models, it started out mostly a Rhino exercise. It was a bit more complex to design, to build, because it involves a lot more commands and a lot more skills and knowledge of conventional jewelry techniques to create, and knowing your metal thicknesses, understanding the structure of the ring. And originally the azure for the diamonds was done with Grasshopper, but we finally felt that the surface modeling and stone arrangements would be more common ground in the book as an intermediate exercise. And in the exercise, which is now mostly Grasshopper exercise, you are learning a lot of sweep rail. It's also partially Rhino. You are using curves that you draw in the Rhino space. And finally, you learning to place stones using the surface morph, and being able to extract a portion of your surface to set the stones on. The second intermediate design is starting out very, very similar to Akiyo's Voronoi ring, with the same little secret. The skin collier, this exercise and the last exercise of the book were both from an exhibition I did, and I had very limited time in which to produce these pieces and ship them. So my concepts had to be both complex, but at the same time producible, and not a complete nightmare to model. And so here we go. I have the Voronoi, very simple. The final touches are done with offset curves and lofts, and then the very end is done in Rhino. So just the assembly of the pieces and the booleans of the holes. As you can see here is the final result of the pieces. Very easy to get ready for manufacture. The knit ring, which is the last two exercises of the book, is the first one. The knit ring is an experiment. It was to bring a real world material or fabric to metal, and to test some limits on the 3D printing that we had been using up to that point. It's in large part thanks to the creator of Weaverbird, Julio. I'm never quite sure how to say your name. I'm so sorry if I'm going to butcher it. Piacentino. He helped me a lot, because I actually took one of his definitions as a ground base and starting point for the design. It's a really nice definition. It works on very simple principles like surface domains, lists, distribution, and then surface flow and curve rebuild. You really utilize the basis of NURB surfaces as well in this exercise to create the fabric. You also pipe the curves at the end, which can be a bit of a taxing component on your system, but it works. It was a lot of fun to make the patterns with. You can also exchange the patterns with the curves that we used for the patterns with your own curves. It means you can create just about any kind of surface texture that you can imagine just by using 2-3 curves. Here were the final results. Once again, it's 3D printed thanks to the great software and the great exports into STL. So the final exercise was something I love nature and I love plants, and there are so many plants that look really, really alien. And a few years ago, I was actually having a tutor, a young man named Andrei Pădur. He's a Romanian architect, and we were working on some definitions together. I was learning at that stage, and I wanted to make something that looked like a chestnut, something that would behave like the way a chestnut seed pod would behave when it's growing. And we started the arduous task of building this definition together. I think very, very simply. So when I use Grasshopper and when I create my designs, I use it for enhancements. I use it on the side, and I think very simple. So I have a very limited range of components that I tend to use. And Andre was very mathematical, and I think the mix was really good. We came up with this definition, which was both complicated and then simplified a lot. And it starts off with a mesh sphere. It also works on the basis of a curve that's divided by points and orientation of planes. Along the curve, then the orientation of a rectangular form, a rectangular curve along those planes. And then finally, once it's all been assembled, or once you have everything together, you just do the Laplacian smooth with Weaverbird, and you have a very organic looking object at the end. That was the final three jewelry piece for the exhibition. So that concludes the models that I attributed to the book. I think that this would not have been possible without the three of us working together to put together a more fleshed out idea, more fleshed out information. I had a lot of fun working with Akiyo and Atsuo on this book. I'm tempted to say we should do a second one, because I'm going to be sad to not continue seeing them every week. It was great fun. And I hope that everybody who uses the book and learns from it enjoys it as much as we enjoyed putting it together. Thank you.
Wow, I'm amazed, Eva. It's a wonderful presentation, and the history about how you moved from South Africa to Vienna, from your more traditional family business to create a new one with your brother, giving modeling and 3D printing services, also your own designs later, how you met first the architecture and computational design community through Michael Pryor and Design More Fine, how Giulio Piacentino helped you. Greetings also from here to Giulio. And yeah, your evolution and your very nice pieces, also because of your not only jewelry skills, but also graphic design skills, right?
Yes, that helped a lot.
Yeah. I'm amazed. I mean, I knew already a little about your work, but today I'm more in love with it.
Thank you.
So thank you. I think we are out of time already, but I think that we have more than 75 concurrent viewers. I hope they will have some questions from you. If you want, we can have now an open dialogue with you. I mean, I can pass you the questions from the viewers while you, Eva, play this video with some models of the cover in your book.
Shall I share the screen?
Yeah,
okay.
You can share the video.
What?
And well, thank you from many of the viewers of the webinar. We don't see your screen, Eva, now. I think you stopped sharing. Yeah.
I did. Maybe it's just maybe it is just too big.
Now, yes, perfect.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's running. Well, thank you from the viewers. Well done and wide variety of design concepts. I'm amazed how you could also coordinate on the book, because Paris, New York, and Tokyo, it's pretty impossible to find a time where you can meet, no? It's on the different corners of the world. And there was a comment by Yasmin Keno, if all the features you show were available on Rhino 6. Many of them, yes. Grasshopper, yes, of course, but subdivision modeling is new in Rhino 7. And
may I add something to that?
yeah, sure.
The subdivision modeling chapter is a chapter all of its own. So we didn't use any subdivision modeling in any of the main exercises in the book. So if you want to do the exercises in the book, you don't need to have Rhino 7. You can do Rhino 6.
Okay, you won't be hired in our marketing department.
No, sorry.
No, but no, I agree with you that many, I mean, actually, well, besides Grasshopper, the fundamentals of Rhino, I mean, you could even use Rhino 2, I guess, for what Atsuo shows always could be done in the first versions of Rhino. But of course, the CAD editing tools, everything. And also there are many new things in Grasshopper for Rhino 7. But yeah, I think you could maybe write a second version of your book with SubD, because this is going, I guess, to explode. And also with one of the questions I had that maybe, I don't know if it's covered in your book, is if you are using any of the existing Rhino and Grasshopper apps for jewelry or for other things, but you use them in jewelry, like pufferfish, for example, you mentioned, or weaverbird, etc.
I don't know. What about you two? I don't use any jewelry tools in Grasshopper per se, not for the exercises in the book.
But in your own.
Can you repeat the question?
Yes, if you are using any of the apps, of the plugins available on food4Rhino for Grasshopper or for Rhino, and this could be specific apps for jewelry, but it could be other kind of tools, like, for example, pufferfish or weaverbird, or I don't know, some rendering tools. I mean, what are you using for rendering?
Oh, for the rendering, I use a Keyshot.
Keyshot.
Yeah, Keyshot. It's an awesome program, and it's easy to learn. Yeah, it's so realistic. So yes, I use a Keyshot. I recommend to everyone. Yeah.
For the
So
no, sorry.
also I do. I'm sorry. So I sometimes use the Peacock. Yeah.
Peacock.
Which is the plugin. Yeah, plugin for the Grasshopper. So sometimes, yeah, it's useful. So the Peacock will be the plugin. Yeah, I can kind of maybe recommend. Yeah.
Nice.
But I wanted to know what's happening. Yeah, for the Danny, but I wanted to know what's inside his cluster sometimes. So yeah, I wanted to learn how he got into that components. Yeah, but it's so fascinating. Yeah.
That's the secret of the components, I guess, that if you disclose disclose the algorithms, you wouldn't sell them, right? But yeah, many people do it because some of them are even open source. Or and you, Eva, are you using pufferfish? Atsuo wanted to say something.
It's no secret. If you will explore the cluster, you can take a look. The algorithm.
Yeah, if it's a cluster, yes, of course.
Yes.
But if it's a component written in with code, well, there are always ways to reverse engineer it, but yeah, it's kind of protected, I guess.
No, the renders we did for the book were largely done in Rhino cycles.
Okay, with the new cycles rendering.
Yeah, Cycles really comes with very, very nice results, especially now that you can do the PBR, now that you can use the PBR materials, and got very nice environment tools as well. But in terms of any plugins in Grasshopper, besides the Kangaroo, which Atsuo used for the physics, I would say I didn't use a plugin for Grasshopper, but I used something called Ennoble, which is a beta software which Swarovski has been building for the last few years. Due to the coronavirus, I think they've put the project on hold for the moment, but it's a very, very nice tool for setting stones and doing pave. It's actually, it's very nice.
Actually, we met with the developers in that user meeting in Berlin, right? With
Atsuo. Graham Hench, he's heading up
Graham and Janko Cole.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I have to ask them again, what's the status of the plugin? I think it's a little standby, but it was a great plugin also for this Swarovski gems. And
it is a good software.
Yeah. And as for manufacturing the jewelry, are you now these days using mostly, well, I guess because of the shape of your pieces, it can be manufactured only with 3D printing, right? Or are you still using CNC machines?
Akiyo?
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Oh, no. No, I don't use the CNC machines. Like everything is 3D printed.
3D printed.
It's in a resin. I mean, well, this is different, but this is something else. But for the metal, yeah, it's either the solid-scape or like a resin materials. Yeah.
I guess also CNC makes more sense if it's large series, right?
Yeah, exactly. But the Roland has Roland has a CNC machine to curve the ring, the wax. Yeah. But yeah, no, personally, I don't use that. I know it's really excellent.
Yeah.
You can just, I mean, the 3D printers nowadays, they come at such good prices, and the models, they are so high res, and even on the bottom range printers that you can buy for at home, that it makes no sense to buy a CNC machine, because you can just do so much more with the 3D printer. So yeah. Any more questions?
There are no more questions from the viewers. Well done. They like it a lot. I think it's a very nice mix of personalities here, of Akiyo, Atsuo, and you, Eva. Different backgrounds, different experiences. You've worked at different companies. You've met different people, but I think that the conjunction of you three makes this the greatest book now for jewelry design in 3D, and of course with Rhino and Grasshopper. So I really thank you a lot for having presented the book.
Thank you.
I wish you success with it. We will continue promoting it. I'm still waiting for my copy at Atsuo. And I hope to see you soon.
Give you a special price.
I hope we can travel again after summer in September. For proximity, I guess I could meet Eva the first, because she's in Paris and it's only 1 hour and a half flight from Barcelona, or in Vienna, or in London. But I hope that during the next year we can organize a McNeel worldwide event, and that we can all meet together with some other great users of Rhino, partners, resellers, and the McNeel family.
That would be great.
That would be wonderful.
Yes.
Yeah. So many thanks again, also to the food4Rhino customers and viewers, and see you soon. I'm going to announce a new webinar soon it will be about Rhino inside BricsCAD BIM. So it's a different industry. It's more architecture and BIM modeling with BricsCAD BIM, but using Rhino and Grasshopper as the foundation. And then we will take a break in August, and in September we'll come back with new webinars, like for example the new two shapes for Rhino, which is a new jewelry plugin for Rhino. Until then, I wish you a good night in Tokyo, good evening in Paris, and for the rest of the people, stay healthy and talk to you soon. Thank you.
Yes, sure.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.